Now let's please welcome Mr. Dennis Kaya, Fire Up.
Coach Brown, if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, you can. I'd like to congratulate all the recipients of this inaugural class. I've been fortunate enough to be in Brewer my whole life so far. No, I was not in the Swans class. But I did know most of you through my brother and my sisters, and also competing against some of you as well. I want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for all of your hard work and diligence throughout this whole process, especially Dave Utterback. Dave is doing a great job as the athletic director here. There's a lot of new initiatives that he has started out. The Student Athletic Advisory Committee, who a lot of them were here tonight to help with this banquet and have done a lot of things behind the scenes. The website, the incredible website that he has out there right now. If you go to GoGrowWitches.com, you can get on to the Hall of Fame's place, all kinds of things about the athletic program. And also this Hall of Fame initiative that he has here. I mean, it was a dream of his to try to get this going, and I don't think it could have been any better. So thank you to all of you. And then I'd like to pay special tribute to Kathy Cahill, who did an awful lot behind the scenes. And I know she hates this, but I'm doing it anyway. Now you can get some sleep and maybe go back to trying to build your house before the snow flies. It's my pleasure to be able to introduce to you Chad White. There are an awful lot of things in Chad's bio on that website. You go on there and you press on Chad, or actually any of the inductees, and you get this great big giant bio. And I guess if you do this, it gets bigger. I don't know. I call my daughter in Colorado and ask her how to turn the computer on. So I guess that's what happened. But I'm not going to talk about all the things that are in his bio, because as with most of the inductees, that's something that will take too long to go through that. What I'm going to do is go through some of the things that were not mentioned in the bio, and maybe how some of the things that he was able to accomplish came about. I was very fortunate to be able to have coached him in 3 sports while he was here. He probably doesn't agree with that, but I felt pretty good about it. He was all conference, or all tournament, or all state in 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball, while he was here. Actually, he wanted to go on and play football in college. That was his passion at the time. But, and I don't know where this came from, but one of the coaches felt that he was too slow to be able to play football in college. Now, he went on and played baseball at the University of Maine and set the school record in stolen bases and in triples, and I think he had to be pretty quick. I never did either one of those, but I think you have to be pretty quick to be able to do that. So football is lost, but baseball is gained. He also, when Coach Wicken came down one time to scout one of our games, we had a doubleheader with Presque Isle that day. And we had always talked to our kids about everything was a double unless they held you to a single. And he was here to watch another player, and Chad went on and had 5 doubles in the doubleheader that day, 3 of which were 1 or 2 hoppers to the left fielder, because he had noticed in pregame that they always threw to the cutoff man and not to the base, and he was able to pick up on that, and he made it with 5 doubles in the game. And that's when Coach Wicken started taking a look at him. And he went on and had a great career at the University of Maine. One of the things that has bothered me I can't think of how many years it was now, but we were playing in the Eastern Maine Championship game, and Chad was pitching. And he had gotten up to about 130 pitches in the 6th inning, and it was a 4-4 game, and I told Chad he was going to come out of the game. And of course he wasn't very happy about that, but I just said, Chad, you've got an opportunity to go someplace. I'm not going to do anything to ruin your arm. And he kicked a bucket of balls. I don't know where that ever came from, because I never would have done that. And I very calmly said to him that he better pick those balls up before they stopped rolling, or he wasn't going back out and play. So he and the rest of the team picked it up and he was going out to play. And I've always questioned whether I did the right thing or not. I think I did, because he did go on and have a great career after that. But we lost the Eastern Maine Championship game. We were picked to win the whole thing. We were in the States the year before, and we didn't end up making it that year. But we had some pretty good games and some pretty good teams back then. I got a call from the people down in Portland, and they wanted to know about one of my other players that year, because he was being considered the Gatorade Player of the Year. And at that time, this other player had a sore arm, and it was only 2-1 pitching, and was doing okay in the field and doing okay at the bat. But I said, I have a player that might be a little bit better candidate for this Gatorade Player of the Year thing. And usually it was always people in the South that got it, and nobody in the North was recognized very often. So I talked about Chad. At the time, I think Chad had something like 6 wins, was batting 600 and something, and I don't know how many stolen bases and home runs. So I gave him all the stats, and he said, well, thank you, I'll get back to you. So I thought, well, I just messed up one of our kids' opportunities to become Gatorade Player of the Year. Because they were only doing 3 people at that time that they were going to try to consider. So about 2 weeks later, I guess they decided they wanted to start finding out about Chad, and they found out that he was pretty good, and he ended up becoming our first Gatorade Player of the Year. I think our only Gatorade Player of the Year that year. And you can look in the bio, he's gone on and won all kinds of other honors, but that was the type of person. He is a very humble person. He's a person that all of these accolades did not mean anything to him. It was all about the team. And that's a tribute to him. Another story about Chad that a lot of you, I'm sure, don't know was his junior year in college, he decided he wanted to be a switch hitter. So he switched hit, and because he was so fast that if he could just put the ball in play, he was going to make it to first base. So they had an article in the newspaper, and this is in that bio, which you can see. The first paragraph of this talks about the person that was interviewing him, asked him, well, how come you never did this before your junior year in college? And he said, because my coaches wouldn't let me. So Chad and I had a little discussion about that. I said, Chad, you never asked me. He said, well, I knew what you were going to say. I said, what was that? He said, you learned to hit right-handed, not think about left-handed. And I think that's probably what I would have said. But he never gave me the opportunity. So that first paragraph haunts me to this day. And another story that you may not know, during his professional career, he too was in the Houston organization. They went into a strike mode one particular year when he was playing, and he was called up. And the day before the strike was going, the day before opening day, he was penciled in as a starting out center fielder for the Houston Astros. That night, I think the players found out that they meant business, and they broke the strike stopped, and Chad didn't get that opportunity. But that's how close he was to being up to the big boys. So it's been a great pleasure for me to know Chad and his whole family. I was fortunate enough to coach all of them, and at this time I'm not going to take a long time. I guess I'll give Chad a chance to come out. Introduce you to Chad White.
you very much, Dennis, for all the kind words. And I don't think I've ever kicked a bucket again. That really hurt. But I didn't show it, because the first thing that Dennis always taught us was don't let them show that you're hurt. So, you always just shake it off and go to the next one. I want to thank the committee. This is an incredible honor. I mean, all these people here are just amazing. I heard stories growing up from my dad about the influence, and I was fortunate enough to go down and see Ken Perone coach in Massachusetts and see a bunch of games down there. And it's just an incredible honor to be here and a part of this. Going back to everything else, I don't say much about myself. I don't like to. But growing up, my biggest influences were my coaches. Starting off with, he was mentioned earlier tonight, Slip Corey, Bob DeBeck, were my Little League coaches. Showed us the way to do everything. Do it right. If you didn't do it right the next time, or you're not playing. My family, my mom, my dad, bringing us around everywhere. My brothers, Robbie and Jamie, always sitting out in North Brewer in this big long field. Play football, play wiffle ball, play anything. I think a lot of people also played on that field that we're here. It was just amazing. And that's where we started learning. I mean, you learn how to play sports, how to play correctly, how to learn to win, and then growing up a little bit after that, you finally get the notion, or you learn that Bangor is across the river. Once I finally knew that Bangor was across the river and we had to beat them at any cost, no matter what, it was probably in PAL, first time. Ever since then, it was gotta be Bangor, gotta be Bangor. And then thank goodness when I got up here into high school and Coach Kaya was coaching, it was you gotta be Bangor, no matter what. And it's completely different. Like earlier somebody mentioned, two different coaches that are completely different. Coach Kaya was different in football. He was different in baseball. He had taught us in baseball, you gotta learn how to, be a little bit calmer, deal with it on the field. And in football, a little bit more intense. And might have been where I learned to kick the bucket. A few times. But it was only against Bangor. And luckily, I turned to the dark side. I married my wife from Bangor. Thank you for everything. Two beautiful daughters. And I hate to say this as well, and I love this town. I loved playing here. I loved everything about this. And this is an amazing night. But I now live in Bangor. But I've always said, no matter what, no matter where I live, I'll always bleed black and orange. That's it for me.